Despite what fitness influencers will say, I am here to tell you that dropping body fat is a hard process. They'll make it seem easy and they'll make it seem like life is a walk in the park. But when you're trying to navigate the busyness of working full time, maybe running a business, you might have kids, a busy social life, it may not be your highest priority. And as a coach, I fully understand that. However, you still want to get incredible results, and there is a way to make that happen. And just in case you're wondering, well, who am I to be able to tell you how to drop body fat, how to get in shape, and how to build muscle? I've taken myself from here to here over the last 8 years, and I've worked with hundreds of clients producing some of the best transformations that you will see in the coaching industry. And as a very quick side note, if you want a completely free 4-day intensive gym program that is going to help you pack on muscle, pack on strength, and learn how to train with proper intensity, all you need to do is head to the description down below, chuck in your details, and it'll send over to you instantly. Okay, back to the video. Now, as I said earlier, dropping body fat is not an easy process, and I'm going to break down some of the common mistakes that you may be making that you can instantly fix and learn how to build into your lifestyle. So the first point is that there is a big difference between eating healthy and eating for physique-based results. In my experience, many guys don't eat absolutely terrible. They eat a decent amount of fruit and veg. They eat a decent amount of protein. And sure, when it comes to the weekend, you might be a bit more loose with your nutrition, you might have a couple of drinks, but it's not terrible on the whole. And as I said, there might be a few meals out, there might be a few drinks, but on the whole, it's not terrible. But the main thing to note is that when you're eating for physique-based results, you have to understand this on a data-driven manner. And even if you're eating too many and too much of healthy food, you will not drop body fat. And many guys are often shocked when I tell them that this is not just about eating healthy. Yes, that will help your overall adherence towards getting into incredible shape and dropping body fat, but you have to understand this is about data and not just about eating clean. So of course, you need to be packing out your meals with protein. You need to be focusing on eating a lot of meat, a lot of eggs, a lot of yogurt. Dairy products in general are very high in protein, and you need to be building your meals around these things. And then we need to factor in high volume carbohydrates, such as potatoes, white or sweet. Sweet potatoes are better. Rice, pasta, couscous, sourdough bread. You can factor in these sort of things. Then we need to factor in some dietary fats. That could come from avocados. That could come from higher percentage fat-based animal products, yogurt, beef, eggs, so on and so forth. Then we could look at nuts, olive oil, dark chocolate. All of these things contain healthy dietary fats. And of course, you've been told this many times as a child as well, you need to factor in all your fruits and vegetables and eat your greens. And to give an example on what I said earlier, you could literally be meal prepping yogurt with protein powder, with some nuts, some dark chocolate, some frozen berries for the first meal of the day. Then when we come to your lunch, you could be eating a massive chicken salad. You could be having a bunch of greens, some healthy dietary fats in there, with maybe some nuts, maybe some olives, 2 chicken breasts inside of this thing. It would be packing with size and packing with volume, which is what you need. And then maybe 45 minutes before you go to the gym, you might have a Squares bar and a banana to give you fast-acting carbs. And then for dinner, that might be something like lean beef with some potatoes and some tender stem broccoli as a high volume, high protein meal that's going to keep you full. But even if that meal worked out to be 2,100 calories and you need to be eating 1,800 a day to drop body fat, because that is what the data tells us, you have to understand that you're not going to drop body fat even if you're eating all the right things at the right times. We have to work out what your maintenance calories are, and then we have to take a mathematical approach to dropping body fat. If we want to get you dropping half a kilo per week, we then have to work out how to get you into a 550 calorie deficit per day on average. And that can be done through a basis of nutrition and a basis of cardio. However, if we break down that your maintenance and your basal metabolic rate is sitting at 1,800 calories, we then have to maybe drop to 1,500 calories per day, then do 250 calories of cardio on top of that. And you see what I mean? And then a very simple thing is you take all of these amazing healthy foods that you're eating and you simply begin to drop the portion sizes, or you drop specific elements out of specific meals. But again, you're still focusing on eating these foods at the right times. But please understand that you have to be in a mathematical deficit to drop body fat. The second pillar that we're going to look at is consistency versus intensity when it comes to dieting. Now, please trust me on this. Consistency of dieting will be intensity of dieting any day. Anyone can come in and start on a really aggressive calorie deficit. But that does not necessarily mean that you're going to get the results that you want, because you will not be able to stick to it. And sure, you might stick to it for a week or two and you might get some really fast results on the scales. You might be down 2, 3, 4 kilo in a very quick time basis. However, if we're looking at getting sizable results, you're at a minimum talking between 5 and 10 kilo drops of body fat based on where you are right now. So as a result, you have to be looking at a consistent approach to get to where you want to be. Not coming in and trying to smash this as fast as possible, because the chances that you then regain weight or you just cannot stick to it is absolutely impossible. So do not take the approach of trying to get a diet done as fast as possible. Look at a consistent, longer term approach. And again, break it into a mathematical process. If we understand that you want to drop 10 kilo and we set a time frame to do that in 20 weeks, we need to build a strategy that gets you dropping half a kilo per week. That means you need to be in a 550 deficit per day. That does not mean you need to be doing everything extremely aggressive, eating salads every single meal, no carbs, and doing an hour of cardio a day. You're not at that level yet. Maybe a professional bodybuilder would do that in the lead up to a bodybuilding show. You're trying to navigate a busy working life with social life and family life and trying to train and commuting to work. You don't need to do that. Trust me when I say this, and it's how I've got so many of my clients insane results. You need to think about consistency and not intensity. And the third point we're going to talk about today is volume-based eating and why this is so important when it comes to dropping body fat. So if we go back to the first pillar that we spoke about, we have to be thinking about the mathematics of where we are and dropping body fat on that level. And now this is where volume really comes into play. If I had 100 grams of pasta in this hand here, or 100 grams of potatoes in this hand here, and let's just say they were the same calories, the potatoes would be substantially higher in size than the pasta. The point being is you're going to get a lot more chewing and it's going to take up more room in your stomach compared to the pasta. So one of the reasons you may not have been able to stick to your diet previously is you just felt too hungry all of the time. Now don't get me wrong, expect to be hungry when you're doing a dieting phase. However, you can offset this by making sure you're eating the correct foods and biasing towards high volume foods, which are things like potatoes, things like brown rice, things like couscous, loads and loads of greens, loads of vegetables, and then focusing on your lean protein sources as much as possible. Some of my favourite foods that I always recommend to my guys in dietary phases, especially on the snack front, are things like watermelon, rice cakes, and yogurt. These things you can eat so much of for small amounts of calories. And again, imagine I had 3 rice cakes stacked up here, and let's just say they were even flavoured. They were caramel flavoured, my favourite. And let's just say that was 150 calories, and that would be a decent amount of eating. That is the same as eating 2 squares of dark chocolate. Think about the size difference of those two things and how that will impact you when you're dieting. And realistically, who doesn't want to still eat loads amount of food? And if you structure your diet properly and you focus on these massively volume-based foods, you're not even going to feel like you're in a diet because you're still eating huge portions. When people get to the stage of eating absolutely nothing and the portion sizes are tiny because they're choosing the wrong foods, then dieting becomes very difficult. And to summarise everything we've spoke about, the reason that you've never been able to drop body fat and get to where you want to be is probably not due to a lack of effort or a lack of wanting the results. It's simply due to not understanding the mathematics of where you need to be. It is simply due to the consistency and the intensity that you've tried to apply, and you went too hard rather than focusing on being slow and consistent, and then you've not been eating the right foods when you need to be eating them. If you can implement everything I've just said, you can expect to see absolutely insane results, just like all of my guys here that have seen insane results inside of my coaching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and as I said earlier, if you want a completely free 4-day intensive gym program, all you need to do is head to the description down below, chuck in your details, and it will send over to you straight away. I'll see you in the next video.